But I like dinner to be okay. Everybody, there's a notice on the screen.
Art. Does he see me?
She's gonna,
Hello? Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
I can.
Is that loud?
Someone that's on the meeting has.
I think somebody.
Hi, Joan.
Hello.
Hi, Joan.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, thank you. Who's there with you?
Marion and me.
Oh. And then you got over there, that's Maria.
Maria and Helen, myself, and Paul and Carmelina.
Oh, okay. Didn't
We're in the
recognize-
office.
Mhm. In the office, good, yeah.
I'm gonna make sure Jason should be on any minute,
Jason.
Okay.
the auditor from Aletta.
Oh. Is Matthew there?
No, he's not here in the office. I emailed him that we were, having the, meeting via Zoom.
Hi, Matthew. Hi,
Hi.
There he is.
hi, Matthew.
Where? I don't see him.
I think he's just getting on.
Marion's there too. in the corner. Oh, I see her.
Mhm.
I'm doing good, but.
That was me.
Okay.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Jan.
Hey, Jan. Hey, Jan. Matt, can you hear us? I see him.
Matt, too. He looks like he's okay, but I'm not sure if he can hear us.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't even see him.
Hi, how are you?
I'm gonna save it here, where I'm out of the way of the camera.
Come on, you can't do that.
Hello, how are you?
How are you?
Here's Tracy.
In the chair.
Let's take you 1 hour to put all that equipment in.
Actually, it's not that bad. It's like,
You know, Chrissy, that owl works so good in a small room like that.
Yeah, can you hear us well?
Yeah, because down the town hall, it's a little bit bigger, and it's difficult to hear sometimes. But when you're in a small room with that thing, it works really good.
Oh, good. We love it. It comes in handy, that's for sure.
That's for sure. Yeah.
Makes it much easier, especially when we do the Zoom, you know?
Yeah. I tried to get a hold of Charlie for tonight, but I don't think it worked, so.
I sent him an email.
I talked to him at school. He was gonna try. He didn't know there was a meeting, so he was still at school when I left after 4.
Oh, I sent him a message and a couple emails too, but
Yeah, it
Okay.
didn't work. It's crazy, Jan, for him to check that, but I told him it was at 5.
well, Pete told him that last night. It's at 5 o'clock, you know, Laura?
Well, he didn't realize it was tonight already. He thought it was another night.
Well, that's how life is, right?
Yep,
I know.
you're right.
Anyway, he'll be here in the future, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm sure he will be too.
2 o'clock. Yep. 5
Well,
o'clock.
it's 5 o'clock, so I will call the meeting to order at 5 o'clock. On, Robert, well, it's not at Robert E. Hutt, but it's supposed to be at Millville Avenue. And we will now, Charlie's not there. I was going to introduce Charlie, but he's not there. So we will have the Pledge of Allegiance. If everybody would stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag, to the republic, one nation, under God, with liberty and justice for all. Will somebody make approval of the minutes of November 10th, 2021 regular meeting?
I will.
So, and who seconded it?
I'll second it.
Who's that? Helen. Okay, all in favor? Also, now we'll go to number 4, approval of minutes of November 23rd, 2021 special meeting. Somebody make a motion to approve it.
Motion for the approval of the minutes of November 23rd, 2021 special meeting.
I'll second it.
Helen, and who? Who seconded it?
Helen.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. New business, the Naugatuck Housing Authority 2020 audit. Jason Gio Maleta and Associates to present audit results to the Naugatuck Housing Authority Board of Commissioners.
And Jason's on the Zoom call.
I'm here.
Yes,
Jason?
Can you all hear me?
Yep.
Can.
All right. Especially for those that are on the Zoom too, I'm hoping this will kind of work the best. I'm gonna see if I can try to steal your screen. If not, Chris, I don't know if you can enable it, if it won't let me. Yeah, it's saying it won't.
I don't see anything coming up yet. Do I have to minimize the meeting or something?
I think you just have to give me permission.
Christie, do you have him as a participant?
Yes. Let's see.
Oh, much more than that, 'cause I never ran one of these, sorry.
Oh, put in waiting room, remove, make host. Chat, pin, stop, spotlight, make host. I wonder if I make him the host, if I make you the host, maybe you can present, or,
I'll give it back to you.
yes.
yeah, let's try it.
Mm.
Anything yet?
Yep.
Nice.
Sharing my screen here. Not sure. I'm assuming you can see what I can see here. And we'll go from there. I'll just make this bigger. You guys can see it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Nice.
Well, good to see you all in this different environment here. But what I'd like to do is just kind of walk through not only our responsibilities and the results, but also kind of take a quick walk through of your agency financially, and kind of go from there. I'll try not to talk too much. I can kind of, talk a lot on the subjects. So obviously, if you have questions, just feel free to butt in. Otherwise, I'll try to keep you all awake. All right, so it's the audit, December 31st, 2020. I'm going to jump to the results of our audit. Basically, we are required and we are retained to audit not only the financial statements of your organization, but also compliance with both federal and state awards, and also to issue opinions on such. So here's, basically a cheat sheet of the audit results. This is basically the overview. The final results after this, you guys can kind of nod off, and depending on your interest. But so the first part is, again, we audit your financial statements. As part of that, we're looking to see that you have adequate internal controls, et cetera. And we will notate if we think there are any significant issues or areas that you need to improve on. In this case, you'll see in the red box here, we said no, so we issued no findings on the financial statements, and we issued what they call an unmodified opinion. Unmodified opinion being a clean opinion. It's what you want to see. Some of the things we evaluate when we do this is we look to see what you're getting as reports or what staff is getting internally, and seeing if there's a lot of adjustments that need to be made. And in that case, there's not here. You guys have done a pretty good job, Tim especially there, on getting the financials as close to what the GAAP gods would require that you do, which is a great thing. I appreciate it. That's for sure. The second part of what we do is again, we're issuing an opinion on your federal awards and how you spend the federal dollars that you get. We've also issued an unmodified opinion here. It means we found no instances of non-compliance that we have to report, and no significant control issues that we have to report. So you'll see again in this red box, no's. No's are a good thing here. It means we found no issues. At the bottom of the screen, it's just gonna again say what we just said, that we found no, so there are no audit findings in both the financial statement or the federal awards. We will jump to the next section, which is the state awards. You get a little repeat bonus financial statement recap, but I'm going to skip that because we already talked about it. And now we have the state awards. And the same thing. We audit for compliance. You've materially complied, and we have no issues of note. This one is specific to others. If we're looking specifically on the congregate, how you're spending the money that you get from state DOH, that's resident subsidies for the most part. And we found no findings, so no reported issues. Okay, so from a top level, clean audit. Obviously, what you want to see as a board, no instances of recommendations and/or findings that we have to report to the board. So now we'll get into kind of going through and some of the key areas of your audit and your organization financially. I like to start with the income statement. This is basically the schedule of all the money taken in, primarily rents and grants, less what you spend out to run your programs. If we go to the center of that page there, I start in the middle here, and this is your operating income. You'll see brackets here. It's saying you have an operating quote unquote loss. Typically we like to add back depreciation just to give you a more cash basis report. This is a $300,000 net surplus for the year. And sorry, I lost my page on the other screen. And you trust me on this, but that is an increase of about $250,000 from last year to the better. So last year you were pretty much break even, $70,000 surplus. This year you're up to about a $330,000 surplus. So we'll start there. Some of the major factors here, right? And the things you want to be concerned about as a board. Cost control is very good. For the most part, your expenses have held pretty flat. less than inflationary, actually, other than salaries, and those are bound by contract. Pretty good cost controls. That's kind of what you want to you want to know, you want to hear. That's the risk. And then maximizing revenue. So if we're looking up here and we're comparing revenue year on year, it's up 10% from the prior year, which is great. One of the biggest factors there is you had some grants, you had some COVID CARES Act funds. Those provided additional resources to the agency and contributed to your bottom line, basically. So they helped you as an organization to provide additional funds, and you got more than you spent out, basically. So we're not gonna go through any other numbers on this page. I did want to, so we talked about a $300,000 profit. Well, I like to kind of jump to the cash flow and kind of say, well, where does that translate to cash? On a basic level, cash went up $400,000. So roughly what I said, right? $350,000 profit, cash went up 400,000. I'm going to get into a little bit of nuances here, but not a lot. Up top, this is cash provided by operations. This is directly what we like to compare to that 300,000. You brought in almost a net $1 million, $900,000, and you put in, geez, almost half of that back into your buildings. So again, you are bringing in resources and you are investing a lot of them back into the buildings, which is what you want to see, right? That's probably the best use of your funds. Protect your assets, right? Because they are who you are. If your buildings aren't good, you can't rent to people, can't generate income, et cetera, et cetera. One of the other big differences of this, and we won't get too much into it, I'll just point it out because you'll see that it's a big number, is pension. The pension plan is charging you about $200,000 more than you're paying. It basically is saying, the GASB gods are saying that, you know, you owe more money than they're billing you. We'll get into that a little bit. It's not your concern, but we can talk about how, you know, that kind of affects things. But that's a non-cash item because they're basically saying, you know, we're gonna run the numbers and assess you an expense of $250,000. But we're only billing you based on salaries of $80,000. So again, we won't get too much into that. I'm going to now transition to your largest federal program, the Housing Choice Voucher Program. And I want to kind of highlight a couple things. This column here, the non-red box column, is the amount of funds you get to run the program. Once again, you're doing it at a plus. So you got a $35,000 surplus for the year, which is again great. You're able to administer the program for better than what they give you. Ideal. I mean, that's kind of the goal, right? So you've been doing very well on that. The center column is kind of the size of your program. $2.4 million this year. You spent a little less than it. So you got about $130,000 set aside and reserved for landlord payments. And most of that is $98,000 in CARES Act funds that they gave you to spend. And in addition to that, HUD holds another $55,000 that's you're entitled to for landlord payments. So now I'll transition to kind of where the risks are and kind of what you're probably living or staff is facing with now is kind of a challenge, the way this program runs. If you don't lose the money or you don't use the money, you lose it in essence. They give it to somebody else that will. You're not really at that level, but this is a good amount of money to kind of try to keep leasing up. And I think that's really the challenge in this environment. I know the staff has kind of expressed their frustrations to me, and perhaps you've heard through Chris, is that, you know, landlords are kind of in a period where they don't need that. They think they don't need the housing authority as much because they can kind of get rents elsewhere. So there's kind of a economic burden kind of working against you guys these days because of the market, right? Rents in the market are going up a lot. there's a limitation to what you can pay. So what we're seeing is that a problem leasing. And if this goes on for too long, you start, this 55,000 starts getting bigger because you're not able to use the funds. And then eventually HUD says, well, I'll give it to somebody else. Again, that is kind of more of a industry issue, right? It's happening kind of everywhere where the market's paying better elsewhere until it turns, and then eventually they'll come crying to you because, they need rents. But that's got to be a struggle now to keep going, to keep, educating landlords that, you can serve the industry, et cetera. And having, available units, right? That's the other thing is lack of housing options. And this may have came up, Chris and I talked about the availability of providing some of this resources to your own units in the state elderly portfolio, Oak Terrace, and having as another source of funds and utilizing this program where in essence, you're the landlord. So there are some options. But again, so it's still in a good position. You have, $180,000 in excess funds that you have available. And it's like 10% of the program, right? For future HAP. But still all good things. The only other last thing on here is you're spending all your state grants. We had some concerns 2 years ago with a lot of the turnover at the congregate program that you are giving a lot of the money back because you weren't earning it. Happy to report that you've earned all the funds now this year. So you shouldn't have to give any money back per se. So I just quick comment on that. It's part of our audit on the congregate program as we evaluate that. And I think with staff turnover and some of the suggestions we had made in years past, it's kind of corrected some of that. All right, so we'll get back to now the final financial statement. This is your balance sheet, summary of since inception, total amount of assets less what you owe to others. The primary areas of being how much you have in cash. And again, as we said, cash did go up about 300,000, so you're growing. It's a positive number. I'm going to go down. I typically like to start at the bottom here. Usually you like this unrestricted number that I highlighted here. It's a negative 1 million to kind of show what you have available to support the future. It's a little misleading here, but this number is a slight decrease from last year. We say, hey, wait, I've been saying we've had surpluses, we've had good numbers. Well, now this net position, which is in essence your remaining funds, unrestricted funds, is negative. Why? Why is it getting worse? And I'll just point out the two big items that are kind of not really hanging over you, but basically you're responsible for, and they have a financial impact on your organization, is the pension, what we talked about a little bit. And really this even bigger, see it's $2 million liability. Those are the benefits you provide to retirees. That is your policy that you are covering medical expenses after they retire, or insurance, not expenses. And that is what the actuaries say is your current liability for that benefit you give them. So you in essence are taking a hit, so to speak. We are recognizing that 2 million of those funds is reserved, not physically reserved, but would be reserved to fund that future liability. It's based on an actuarial study. It's not part of your ins and outs budgets, but it's something to make note of. That you have two primary benefits, the pension that you pay in on, and the other post-employment benefit. That's what OPEB stands for, that are in your organization. So I'm just going to finish with that just to kind of provide some perspective. It's a big number in saying that you owe your pension plan $900,000, as it said on the front screen. But when I want to put that in kind of perspective, as 825,000, excuse me, is how much you pay. So the actual pension cost to your employees, $80,000 a year. If we went back 7 years, it was 50,000. So yeah, it has increased, but for the most part, when we're talking these huge swings of dollars, from a cash basis, and this is really what the board's, I would think concern would be is you can afford. These aren't huge swings in your budget, and they're not going to affect operations in a large extent, but they are continuing to increase as the pensions of this world start to kind of realize that, hey, we're underfunding and we're going to need more money. So there is some major, maybe future point of that, right? Effect that you've gone from 54,000 up to 80. So you can expect that to kind of continue to increase. So, but I'll end it there because again, there's a lot of pages in here. But as a summary state, no findings on any of the programs. We audited 4 programs as major programs. Had some recommendations in prior years that actually staff has done this year. So I have no further recommendations for improvements. And really financially sound. So there's really no losing programs. They all kind of hold their own, which is great. And again, it was just a point on, everybody's in the same place on the pension. So it's not a Naugatuck thing, it's a state of Connecticut thing. Or surely a US thing. But so I guess I would conclude and say that, a very good year. And it was, the staff was really helpful. And, obviously we've gone through our own challenges with dealing with COVID, et cetera. And kind of here we are. So I don't know if anybody has any questions or certainly, again, this is all I do. So.
Yeah, yesterday you guys already.
Thank you, Jason.
No problem.
Very informative.
If we're good, I'm going to stop my screen share and certainly give the host back to you all because I don't want it. I'm assuming it was you, Chris.
Yep. Thank you.
Oh, go ahead.
You should now be the host.
Jason?
Thank you.
Jason, I only have one thing that I found when I went through this. On page
Sure.
12, you have, I thought we had 194 units at state housing. You have 196 units in your report.
12. Hold on.
Page 12 of the report, under state and local programs.
I see.
Properties totaling 196. We have an under 194, right, Chris?
Mhm. Yeah, for the state elderly.
Yeah.
Okay. So I will switch that before filing. Thank you. I'm highlighting that now on my side. So I can get that fixed. Thank you.
Okay. Well.
Any other questions? Wow. And Jason, just to know, per our conversations during the audit, we're already looking into next month, beginning the process of moving some of the Section 8 vouchers that we currently have, or allocating some of that money to project-based vouchers over at the Oak Terrace site. So that should be able to be done in not such a long, it's gonna be much shorter than we thought. With respect to RFP, so it might be within the next couple months, we could start allocating that. And we're also looking into a homeless, there's also a program that Waterbury has used where they designate their vouchers towards homeless families in the school district. So I'm also getting feedback from Dana and Waterbury on that, so we can begin preparation to do that, and that'll help use up those excess Section 8 funds, so we don't lose them.
Great.
Okay.
It's about maximizing the program, right? So.
Exactly. Any questions? Any questions?
No, I don't. Any questions?
All right.
Great presentation.
No, thanks.
Ew.
We have to, Chris, you didn't put on your executive director report and all. We have to make a motion to add it to the agenda.
Now you want to make a motion to modify the agenda
I'm
to
gonna
add the executive director, maintenance director report, and
maintenance report. Because I know
and
you gave us all that information, but you didn't add it onto the agenda.
because I was so focused, I was so excited about this audit. That must have been it. And Derek is here from the police department as well, so he can give his police report.
Well,
So
I
should
have it down. I said we have to make a motion to add to the agenda, the executive director's report, the police report, and the maintenance report.
Perfect.
So somebody has to
Motion.
make a motion to add it to the agenda. Those three
Make a
items.
motion.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
No, I think you made the motion.
All in
Thanks.
favor?
All in favor?
All in favor?
And were you also making a motion about the, to revise the agenda for the, election of officers?
No, I'm gonna make a separate one because that's on your thing. Here, I'm gonna table that. Somebody has to make a motion to table that to the next month, January meeting.
Okay, do you want to do that
You want to do that now too?
now? Okay,
'Cause it's on the agenda. I thought you would do your first, your reports and stuff.
okay, sure, absolutely. Okay,
You do your director's report first.
yep. I will read the executive director's report and, I'm sorry, for the month of November. All drawdown federal funds were completed for the month of November 2021 for our federal complexes. Move-ins, public housing, we had 4 move-ins, 1 at GDL, 1 at Oak Terrace, and 2 at Lewis Circle. We had 3 move-outs, 1 at GDL 2, 1 at Oak Terrace, and 1 at Lewis Circle. Housing Choice Voucher Program, we had 3 new move-ins, no transfers, 1 move-out. We're currently up to number 70 on the Housing Choice Voucher waiting list. This month I added onto my report the waiting list status, because I think it's a good point for everyone to see where we are with waiting lists, because we are constantly getting calls for people looking for housing. So as it stands right now, we only have 1 list open, which is the Congregate site, which is eligible 62, age 62 and older individuals. And the remaining of the other waiting lists that we have are currently closed. So George B. Lewis, 1 and 2 sites, we have 54 applicants remaining on the list, the existing list that we have. Lewis Circle, 2-bedroom list, we have 65 applicants remaining to be housed. Lewis Circle, 3-bedroom waiting list, we have 25 applicants to be housed. Robert E. Huck Congregate, we have 58 current applicants remaining on that list. Oak Terrace, we have 135 applicants on the studio listing, which is the studio apartments, obviously. And the 1-bedroom waiting list, we have 14 applicants remaining. Section 8 waiting list, we have 430 applicants remaining. So typically, a list remains closed until we get down to the last 20 or so applicants, then we would reopen it and begin accepting applications again, and we start a new waiting list. Property and site updates, George B. Lewis 1 and 2 complexes. Osborne Road, the hill behind buildings 3 and 4 at George B. Lewis 1 was graded and prepped for seeding in the spring. Contractor will be spraying wood chips on the hill where the trees were removed, and also going to move the rocks back into the lower brook once the ground freezes, because if he dries his equipment on the grass right now while it's still warm, it'll rip it up. So we're gonna wait until we have a frost, and then we'll get that done. We had a grant request, I'm sorry, at the, and also with, Adams completed the leaf and site cleanup over there at both sites. At our congregate site, we received our grant request for exercise funds from CHFA was approved. I'm going to execute a contract and a funding agreement, so we will now receive funding for the exercise classes, seated and standing exercise classes for the hot residents. We have 3 apartments vacant pending appliance and furniture relocation. We're in the process of securing a shed to store the items at the hut site so we can renovate and rent out the apartments. Paul managed to juggle some of the appliances, so we opened up another apartment that we could rehab. So we're doing what we can because we want to fill up those units and get that rental income, get the rent influx so we can build up the reserves over there again. Thanksgiving meal from the food service was delivered to resident apartments. As we had some COVID cases in the building over there. So we are now doing meal delivery, and we stopped serving in the dining room until we know that it's contained. Lisa O'Connor, our resident service coordinator, delivered meals from St. Michael's Thanksgiving meal to the Robert E. Hutt congregate site. Oak Terrace, the police have been monitoring the site for suspicious persons and vehicles. 2 persons were arrested connected to 1 tenant on site. Investigations are ongoing. Leaf pickup and site cleanup are ongoing at Oak Terrace, pretty much done now. Residents still have excessive items on their rear sidewalks, which are making ice and snow cleanup very difficult. Maritza Valentin will be assessing rear sidewalks and contacting residents directly to clean up their items. Maritza also patrolled the site for lease violations such as bird feeders, grills, and addressed directly with the residents. Glenn McCullough, one of our Oak Terrace residents, and his sister held a very nice Thanksgiving dinner for Oak Terrace residents in the community room on Thanksgiving Day. Thank you to Glenn and family for that. I delivered meals to Oak Terrace residents on Thanksgiving with help from my daughter. Miscellaneous items, our audit was complete and submitted to HUD and State of Connecticut for review. Presentation to our Board of Commissioners was scheduled for this meeting. Carmelina Goncalves, Maritza Valentin, and myself attended a grant application process training class. Well, it was a training sponsored by NARO at the Greek Church in Waterbury last month. It provided guidance on completing CHFA and DOH spreadsheets for grants, which can be very lengthy. So they gave us some information on how to fill in those spreadsheets, shortcuts, advice on submitting your grant request and information to be included. So it was very informative. We continue to work with our council on 3 evictions currently in process. I'm beginning procurement of snow equipment, some snow blowers. We need, leaf blowers that we use for snow. Well, we call them snow blowers, we blow the snow, and a new pickup truck for maintenance. COVID booster clinics were offered to NHA residents by Sanjay at Naugatuck Pharmacy. He very generously volunteered to hold clinics at all of our sites, and they were all successful. We had them this week. With exception to the Robert E. Hutt congregate, which we could not hold because we did have some cases of COVID there. We did some testing last week, discovered we had a few cases there. So it was more prudent for us to wait until we can vaccinate so we can booster the entire site, as we weren't sure how many other people might have been coming down with it. But we think it's been contained, and residents who were affected are quarantining in their apartments. Thank you to the resident service coordinators and NHA staff that helped with coordinating the event. All the residents had to be called, assigned a time slot for the vaccination, called back, etc. So it was a big, everyone really jumped in last minute to get this. We literally had to get it scheduled and everything within less than 2 weeks. So everybody really, it was a wonderful effort by everyone involved. And thank you. We will be boostering the congregate site mid-January, once we have everyone out of quarantine and we have the residents that were infected with the virus that are virus-free for 2 weeks. So we'll provide information on that. And maintenance director's report. Unit renovated total, we had 5 completed. The leaves were blown and vacuumed at all the sites multiple times throughout the month of November. All of our laundry rooms and common areas were cleaned daily at all sites. We completed 11 after-hours calls, 3 of them with no dispatch. We completed 78 work orders. Blade and Flamore cleaned the laundry rooms at Oak Terrace. Blade and Flamore delivered monthly food bank delivery of boxes to NHA residents at Oak Terrace, Congregate, and George B. Lewis. Bushes were cut at the office here at the Housing Authority. Some small trees were cut and removed behind buildings 31 and 32 at Oak Terrace. The Oak Terrace community room was cleaned for the voting in November. And mechanics report, oil was changed in the 2006 Chevy Silverado, and oil was changed in the Kubota. It was greased, and we installed, or Paul installed, the snow blower attachment. And that's it for maintenance for November.
Thank you, Chris. Now,
Sure.
please report.
How are you?
Good, how
How
are
are
you?
you? Good. Okay, let's see, we have for congregate housing, we had 11 calls, 10 of them were ambulance calls, 1 general complaint. George B. Lewis had 4 calls, although 2 of them were 2 ambulance calls. 1 was our meeting there, me being at the meeting, and then a patrol check. George B. Lewis 2 had 4 calls, 3 ambulance, 1 assist. Lewis Circle had 1 call for an attempt to locate. And then Oak Terrace, we had 70 calls, but 51 of those are patrol checks. So that leaves 19 calls for service. 9 of them were ambulance calls, 2 assist others, 1 domestic, which was an argument with no arrests. 1 was a fire call where the breaker was tripped and they lost power and Eversource came out. 1 general complaint, a suspicious motor vehicle, which was the black Avalanche that everybody's been talking about. 2 suspicious persons, 1 vandalism, which was a vehicle that was scratched and the tires deflated, and 1 welfare check. So that is it.
Hey, Derek.
Nice.
Yes.
All right. I think the next, we already did the re-election. We did table that, right? We made a motion for that.
Not yet. I think you were going to do that next.
Okay. All right. Then we go into public comment, but, all right, somebody has to make a motion to table the re-election of officers for 2022 to January 2022.
I'll make the motion.
So,
Yep.
Who seconded it?
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Why are we changing it? You know, what is the purpose of the,
Well, I think it's better that we're all there in person at the next meeting.
okay,
I am tabling it. I think it's right because this way everybody can be there in person at the next meeting, which will be, I think, at We Drive, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, I think it's We Drive. And I think it'd be nice, we're all there in person than just doing this on the
Yeah.
computer.
Okay, can we have a
Thank
second?
you.
So I,
And-
who seconded it?
Oh, I think Sue made the motion, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, who second? Helen?
I'll second.
Oh, Maria. Thank
I have
you.
a second, Maria. Oh, Maria?
I'm
Okay.
on that.
Thank
All in
you.
favor? Yes, all in favor.
Oh, say aye.
All right. thank you. Now we go into public comment. Any public comment, anybody? Nobody for public comment, all right.
I'm gonna say, public, I just wanted to commend the Naugatuck Police Department. They've been so attentive with us, with all of our sites, especially, with Oteris. Any information I get or any calls I get, they've been quick to meet me there or address the concerns, and they're really taking the information that I'm getting from residents and using it. And I see them actively pursuing things, the increased patrols, I'm getting feedback from residents there. They've been getting multiple patrols at night, which is making them feel much safer, and we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Naugatuck's finest.
All right, commissioners' comments, anybody? I would like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a happy and healthy New Year. Anybody else? Commissioners?
Very, very merry, happy Christmas and a very healthy, happy New Year.
All
Have
right,
great holidays, everybody. You work hard.
okay.
Keep at it.
Thank you.
I'd say still a lot, Joan, but it's not your birthday today, right?
Okay, what time is it now? 5:40. Somebody make a motion to adjourn the meeting at 5:45.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second the motion.
Who's that? Second.
Me.
Okay, thank you. We'll see each other in 2022. Everyone stay healthy.
Happy holidays.
Okay,
Happy
God
holidays.
bless.
Take care, you all.
Bye.
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 Hi, Lori.
Bye, Jan. Nice to see you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.